Hey guys, today we are doing my May TBR, so we are looking at the books that I am planning to read in the month of May. This month is going to include a couple of standalones or new series starters, but it's also going to have a bunch of book twos and other continuations in series. So let's jump straight in with what I am currently halfway through already as we start the month of May. So I'm currently halfway through two books as we go into the beginning of May. The first of these is A Traitor in Skyhold, which is book 3 in the Mage Errant series by John Byrne. This is one that I put down in January. I got about 30-40% of the way through it in January and then put it down, wasn't really feeling it. I came back to it this last week, got through another 10% or so, and I'm actually enjoying it a lot more, having given it a bit of a break, so I'm planning to finish that off in the first week of May. The other book I'm currently halfway through is this one here, Turning Darkness into Light. This has been on my TBR for 2 months already. I'm going to finish it in May, I promise you, but it's been taking me a little bit of time. So this is a companion novel to the Memoirs of Lady Trent by Marie Brennan. This takes place following her granddaughter long after the events of the initial original series, and I'm enjoying it so far. It's interesting, it's told in an epistolary format, and I'm really enjoying that. It reminds me very much of Dracula and other books in that vein, and it's something I really enjoy. I think it's been told very well. It's just a bit of a slow read for me. It's not something I'm burning through. So with those two that I'm currently reading out of the way, let's talk about books that I want to get to, I want to start, and we're going to start with continuations of series. So the first of these is going to be Jade War by Fonda Lee. I finished Jade City just a couple of weeks ago in April. It was something that was a bit of a slow start for me. I didn't fall in love immediately, but by the end of Jade City, I did really enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. It's something I really did enjoy, and I'm very much looking forward to Jade War and both Jade Legacy. I'm planning to get to Jade War in May, and then in June, I'm going to be looking to read Jade Legacy. Hopefully they continue to improve just like Jade City improved throughout. I hope that Jade War in itself is going to be an improvement on Jade City, because if it is, and if Jade Legacy is an improvement on that, this is going to be a really, really good series. It definitely has a sort of fantasy mafia vibe, like Fantasy the Godfather almost, but inspired by an Eastern Asian setting. Very interesting. Definitely worth looking into if you like urban fantasy, if you like modern style fantasy, if you like Asian settings, or if you like mafia style plots and setups as well. Definitely something you might like. So the next book 2 of a trilogy I want to talk about is The Obelisk Gate. This is book 2 of the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. Again, I read the 5th season, the first book in this trilogy last month in April. I gave it 5 stars, absolutely cracking read, really, really enjoyed it. Definitely a book that I really fell in love with, and I love Jemisin's writing. I love the story that she's trying to tell. An absolutely wonderful read, and I'm very excited to get to the also Hugo Award winning The Obelisk Gate, and again planning to finish this trilogy in June along with the Greenbone Saga. So yeah, hopefully I will have got through both these trilogies in 3 consecutive months, as long as I am continuing to enjoy them as much as I did initially. And the final book 2 of a series I want to talk about is not a trilogy. This is actually The Dark Tower by Stephen King. So book 2 is called The Drawing of the Three. I did again read The Gunslinger last month, only about 40 years late, but I really love The Gunslinger. I love the way it was written. I love the atmosphere, the visceral feelings and sense of being there. I loved the intrigue and the mystery of the world. I think that's something that Stephen King has done incredibly well in The Gunslinger, is to give us these hints and vibes of this world, but there's still so much mystery, and I think that's just done so beautifully in The Gunslinger. I'm really excited to continue on the Dark Tower series. The other continuation of a series that I'm going to be doing is actually a reread. This is Changes, so book 12 of the Dresden Files. Those of you who've read the Dresden Files before will know that this is an absolutely incredible book, touted by most Dresden fans as the best Dresden Files book. Obviously, I'm not going to give you much about setup here because it's book 12 and I don't want to spoil anything from earlier books, but there is so much that happens here. I'm really excited for my reread of Changes, and I'm excited to see if it still holds up as the pinnacle and the best Dresden Files book to date. Now that we've got all those series out of the way, let's talk about the new books I want to get to. So these are going to be books that either are standalones or that start a new series for me, because obviously I need more open series. That's what we all need on Booktube, apparently. So first up is The Thousand Names by Django Wexler. This is the first book of the Shadow campaigns, and I am reading it because Alan over at the Library of Alexandria is having the May campaigns read along. So we are reading the Shadow campaigns, one a month for the foreseeable future. I am really excited for this. For those of you who don't know, it is a flintlock fantasy, and I have been meaning to get back to flintlock fantasy ever since I finished Brian McClellan's debut trilogy. A Promise of Blood was definitely the worst of those three. However, the Autumn Republic and the Crimson campaigns, both really good. I did enjoy those a lot more, and I really want to get back into this flintlock fantasy. Now, Alan has read these before and is a fan. He really likes them. He thinks they're underrated. So I'm really excited to see what I make of this flintlock fantasy series. I've not read any Django Wexler before, although I do have Ashes of Blood. Is that what it's called? Or Ashes of the Sun? One of those. I do have that. I just haven't got to it yet. That's the first book in his next series. But really excited for the Shadow campaigns, and hopefully it is a flintlock fantasy that I really, really love. The next book I want to talk about is also opening up a series, but I will be caught up as soon as I finish it. So this is actually an arc I've got. It's an early copy I have of Daughter of Redwinter. This is by Ed McDonald, known for the Ravenmark trilogy, I believe it's called. The first book of that is Blackwing, which I've heard many good things about. Again, Alan really liked Blackwing. I've heard many other people talk about Blackwing and say how much they enjoy it as a fantasy book. I know not very much about Daughter of Redwinter, which is how I like to go into books often, particularly arcs. All I do know is that we're following a young female protagonist, and I think it includes the Chosen One trope or some form of the Chosen One trope. And the Chosen One trope is a trope that I don't hate in my fantasy. I know some people think it's overdone and they're a bit bored of it. I still like the Chosen One trope. I still like that kind of old school traditional fantasy. And so I'm really excited to jump in and read my first Ed McDonald book. I'm really excited for that, and we'll see how I find it. My final book on here, my last book, is going to make around 9 books that I am trying to read in the month of May, which is on the upper end of what I would normally get through. But this book is finally we are returning to Adrian Tchaikovsky. I've not read any Tchaikovsky since March. So it's been a couple of months since I've read any Tchaikovsky. That was Ogres, which I really enjoyed. What I'm getting to here is Cage of Souls. Now, I know basically zero about Cage of Souls. What I know is that it is a standalone and that it is a science fiction. I think that's all I know about it, and I'm not even that sure about those two things. Excited for it. This is being read purely on the strength of it being a Tchaikovsky novel. I love Adrian Tchaikovsky, I love his work, and I can only hope and imagine that Cage of Souls will slot nicely into that list of books of his that I really, really enjoy. So there we go, the 9 books I want to read in May: 8 fantasy, 1 science fiction. And recently with my wrap-ups, you'll have been seeing that I've been hitting about 80% of my TBR or so. So most of these should get read. I may get to some additional ones that aren't on here. Hopefully I might do all of these even if I have a good month. But yeah, I imagine about 80% of these will probably get read. There might be the odd other thing that I've not planned for that I pick up as a bit of a mood read. But that is what I am aiming for in May. Do let me know down below what you are most excited to be reading in May. And there should be a video here to check out if you want to see some more of my content. I'll see you guys again soon.